Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty.
If you recall, when after the election of 2020 and the results came out in favor of Biden, there were a lot of people who were upset with that, and Trump really wasn't admitting any kind of defeat. And so there wound up being a big rally, and the rally wound up sort of getting out of hand and heading down to the Capitol and storming the gates, and it sort of turned everything upside down. And the left claimed it was an insurrection. The right claimed it was just um, a protest that got out of hand, turned riotous, kind of like what we saw most of 2020 that Democrats seem to be okay with. So that's kind of what we have. And since then, we haven't been able to get away from it. There's been a lot of people jailed, unlike most of the other riots of 2020. And there's been a lot of political chicanery that's come from it. But of course, this committee now that was just announced turned out to be something where they wanted to make it a prime time thing. So they ran this thing on, I believe it was last Thursday night. Thursday, what would that have been? The 9th, I believe, June 9th. And this wound up being something that was aired on all the news networks, except for Fox, which ran it on their Fox Business channel, I guess. And so they had about 19 or 20 million viewers total, which, it's for watching any one event, that's pretty big. But considering how many people normally watch the news every night, and since this was on most of the news channels, I guess it's kind of status quo. So maybe it was a huge success for the Democrats. Maybe it wasn't. As far as viewership, it's kind of debatable. This article from the Federalist is kind of saying it wasn't such a big deal, and they tried to make the case that they wound up having a lot less viewers, a lot of them than normal, except for maybe like CNN and MSNBC. But anyways, that's kind of setting the stage for it a little bit. And another item too, and unfortunately my visuals are slow here, so I can't jump to the next one. But another issue of this whole trial being sort of a show trial is that it was pretty much hand-picked people from where it had Republicans on the panel as well. They were mostly handpicked by Nancy Pelosi. Apparently, early on, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the guy who runs things on the Republican side.
McCartney.
Yeah, McCarthy. Yeah, so he tried to select the people he wanted, and Nancy Pelosi would not accept them all. And so he said, okay, well, if you're not going to give me any of them, then this is just a show trial, so I'm not going to pick any of them, and we're just going to put it all on you. And so she handpicked all of the people. So it's kind of Nancy's Inquisition for the most part, just kind of like all of the other stuff they've been doing constantly with Trump. In fact, I think I have the image here from that story too as well. So maybe we could get that image back up, and then I'll kick it over to you guys. So that was McCarthy pulling his picks when Nancy was not giving him all of the people that he wanted on that committee. So I have some other images to show, but what are you guys' initial thoughts on all this?
Tim, go ahead.
Leon, go. Oh, well, it's no different. I mean, there's a split, this chasm between the left and the right, and it's never going to go anywhere else. What do you expect? If you have one party calling everybody in the pocket of Putin and literally making stuff up, or buying into what stuff is made up by members of the FBI and the CIA to disparage Trump back in the old days. I mean, if you have that kind of lack of credibility in their opinions, what do you expect? And so I'm sure this January 6th thing will just be right down party lines. And for the most part, I mean, you're going to have some people that are probably going to be a little more honest with it. And those would probably be Republicans on the most part that are saying, things that that maybe Trump said or did, or other people said or did related to this January 6th thing that were probably, a little bit closer to the truth. So I don't know. I just don't see it as anything but what you would want to expect, or you would expect, not want to expect, but you actually expect from the behavior of these people in Washington. That's about it.
Well, the whole thing that we are dealing with here is this riot that occurred in the Capitol on January 6, 2021. But the most troubling aspect of all of this is the dispensation of justice as a result of the riot. Now, as you mentioned, Jason, you spoke about 2020. You spoke about the fact that, we had all these riots. I'm not talking about the protests. Protests is a part of our traditions, and we should never get away from that. I am talking about the riots. There are over 500 riots declared during the summer of 2020. Over 500.
And if I could, can we get a visual up here while Leon's talking about this? Because I did have some images from the riots as well.
Okay.
Now, this is something I was going to show from the Capitol. Before we show that, let me jump to the riot. This was the culmination of the riots, Seattle, where essentially Jenny Durkham had said this is going to be the summer of love, when they surrendered 6 blocks to armed protesters in Seattle, where they looted a police station, and they just took over. I mean, if you lived in those blocks, you literally had armed people on the street who claimed they were the police that had nothing to do with Seattle's government. So, and of course, it ended in some violence where a lot of a few people got killed. But these are some of the images from what was happening in Seattle at the time, where Democrats literally, they just called it, hey, this is the summer of love. And, violent, riotous protest, that's kind of what we're about, and this is, so anyways, this kind of set the stage a little bit for the whole, it wasn't, I guess, business as usual going into January 6th, let's put it that way. So sorry, Leon.
No, it's no problem. But the problem here is the dispensation of justice. We had, over the summer of 2021, we had looting, people burning down our cities. We had people who were killed. And how many people have been arrested to date? How many people? All because the summer of 2020 was classified as a mostly peaceful protest in the name of social justice. That's what it became, in the name of social justice. So in the name of social justice, we can tolerate the amount of lawlessness we saw. Then came Capitol Hill in very early 2021, and all of a sudden, everybody, all the Democrats, all the leftists, all these people who were cheering on the looting and the arson and the murders, all of that which was going on in the summer of 21, those people now become people who believe in law and order. They wanted all of those people arrested, and they were. They have been charged. Lately, there's somebody been charged with sedition. All of these things, whether you're looking at January 6th or whether you're looking at the summer of 2021, all of these things were attack upon our sovereignty, because we own Capitol Hill and we own all of the businesses that were burned, all of the streets that were damaged, all the people that were killed. They were all part of our sovereignty. Both were attacks upon our sovereignty. And you know what happened? The left is now treating the summer of 2020 as something sacred. We cannot attack that. But January 6th, that was an insurrection. And the other thing too that is most disturbing about this, everybody's talking about Trump's responsibility during the January 6th riots on Capitol Hill. Well, Trump is not the head of the legislative branch of government. He's the head of the executive branch of government. He has no responsibility for the security of the Capitol. That actually is Nancy Pelosi. And nobody is investigating her role or her lack of being a leader in terms of managing the crowds at the Capitol on January 6th. Nobody's talking about that. And that is why she rejected the picks of Kevin McCarthy. She rejected them so that she could put her own people in there. I'm talking about the Republicans she put on the committee. She could put her own people in there so they could cover up her lack of leadership for the security of the Capitol on January 6th. They're just trying to cover it up. So this is nothing but a show trial, and it's not going to get us anywhere. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.